Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new session of the HPP Innovation Week, the benchmark event on high-pressure processing hosted by Hyperbaric. This is David Flores, Technical Sales Manager for EMEA region, and I would like to introduce this new session called HPP in Africa, Opportunities and Early Adopters. And for that purpose, today, for this discussion panel, this open discussion panel, we have three speakers that we have invited, and they have the pleasure to join us. Today, we have Deborah van der Meij from Babylon Storen. Hi, Deborah.
Hello, David. Nice to see you.
How are you doing? Nice to see you too.
Very well, thank you.
We also have Samantha McIlroy from Into Food.
Hi, David. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good to see
and
you.
Finally, yeah, nice to see you. And finally, we have Henrik from Hpp South Africa. Hi, Henrik.
Hi, David.
How are you doing?
Good, thanks yourself.
Yeah, very good. Thank you all guys for joining for this session. And before we open the panel and open the discussion, I will first make a small introduction on Hyperbaric, on my company. And I will make a short presentation. And after that, I will introduce our host speakers. And then before they make all the initial presentations and so on, we will open the discussion panel. Okay?
100%,
So,
thanks.
thank you guys. I will share my screen and do the presentation. Okay, so I open this first panel, this panel called HPP in Africa, Opportunities and Early Adopters. On Hyperbaric, on our company, we are the international reference in the development of high-pressure technologies, and we are the world leader in the industrial high-pressure processing equipment, HPP equipment. We are having more than 60% of the market share currently, with more than 300 HPP systems installed worldwide, more than 20 years of experience focused on HPP. A turnover that is now beyond 50 million euro. We are now more than 120 employees divided in the different offices that we have all over the world. And we have a strong effort and a strong focus on R&D with more than 20 projects and 18 million euro invested throughout these 20 years of experience. We design, manufacture, and distribute the high-pressure processing equipment all over the world since 1999. Our locations, today I'm talking you from our headquarters in Burgos, Spain, but we have also an office in the US, as more than 60% of our market is located in the US and North America, Canada, Mexico. And we also have an office in Mexico, mainly for servicing the customers there. We have an office in Asia, in Singapore, and we also have a service office in Oceania to service all the customers all around the world. Our facilities, this is our headquarters, where we also have the workshop with the assembly area that you can see in the center picture. And this is the main building of our USA delegation, where we have a commercial and after-sales office. We also have a pilot plant where customers can access for doing tests and trials with the products. And so we have in our headquarters in Spain. So I take the chance to invite all our listeners and our viewers to come and testing their products whenever they need it. I also would like to remind that we have this live chat, so you can send us all your questions. I would like to answer some of them at the end of this panel, but if you don't have time, then feel free to leave the questions there, and then we will answer by email, okay? HPP is a global technology. 45% of the business is currently, of the number of machines installed, it's currently in North America, with Europe following with 28%, and then Asia with 17%. And finally followed by Oceania, where we have machines mainly in New Zealand for the guacamole production, but also some in Australia. Latin America is having 4% of the machines installed, and Africa 1%. This is what we will be focusing today, the HPP in Africa. So if you see, this is a customer's map taken from our website. And unfortunately, even though Africa is so big, We only have machines in one of the countries in South Africa. So specifically in Tshwane, in the north of the country, and then close to Cape Town, where we have 2 customers that we will meet today. So what products are being processed in South Africa? So mainly we have guacamole and avocado products. In this case, I give you the example of Westphalia, one of our customers that unfortunately couldn't join today, followed by meat products. I give you the example of one of the companies that is processing their products with HPP, but there are many others. Juices and beverage, that I also give you some example here of some smoothies, and other products that are currently produced are ready-to-eat meals, salsas, plant-based, and fruit products, as the trend is global. All these products are growing in all markets. So our first customer in South Africa was Westphalia, that, as I told you, unfortunately they couldn't join today. They were the pioneer in the market for guacamole and avocado production. They started with a hyperbaric 55 in 2014, and they expanded capacity to a hyperbaric 300 liters in 2018. They have a very big portfolio of different avocado with different flavors and guacamoles, and they have retail formats, they have bulk formats or big bags for food service. They are exporting to many countries. You can find the products here in Europe. You can find the products in America. So they are exporting worldwide. Then the next products in importance are the meat products in volume. Unfortunately, in 2018, there was a listeriosis outbreak in the company enterprise. And it costed some lives. It costed a lot of millions to the company, because obviously it's very difficult to recover from a situation like this. So that's why after this listeria outbreak, you see how the value of the company was affected. So then most of the meat manufacturers, or the main meat manufacturers, decided to play safe with the addition of HPP to their products. So, for instance, companies like Escort, they created this press release claiming after listeriosis, Escort plays it super safe with HPP, and also Enterprise and other companies like RCL are now processing the meat product through HPP. Then in volume, the next is juices and smoothies and other beverages. Today we have with us these 2 companies, Into Food and Babylon Storent, that they will tell us more on their products and on the different on the portfolio, the different flavors, the different products that they are currently developing. So I won't get extended on this, as they will introduce better their companies and products. And finally, we have invited to this panel Hpp South Africa, which is the only toller of Hpp in Africa, in South Africa specifically. They have 2 locations close to Joburg and then also in Cape Town. So Henrik will tell us more later. And he will give us a viewer picture on the market, as they not only process their own products as the other customers, but they are doing the tolling service, so they are processing many different products for different customers. The number of machines by app, so that you can get a better information on how is the market and how is the market of HPP evolving in different markets. So today, similar with what we are having in South Africa, still juices and beverage, meat products, guacamole, and other vegetable products are taking the lead, as well as tolling services that as you can see, they are 17% of the total market share by number of machines and apps. So as you can see, also seafood is growing with 7% of machines, R&D, or ready meals, salsas, and plant-based food. The plant-based segment is growing in every single category, and it's also, of course, affecting the HPP. And 2 new categories regarding ready-to-eat meals that are growing a lot lately are baby food and pet food, as also pets are part of the family, and we want to take care of them as one of the beloved members of our family. So that's why not giving them the best quality food products, and of course pathogen-free and without any possible contamination. Okay, so that was it on my side. You can contact me through the email, and you can contact me on WhatsApp. In this mobile number, you can access me on WhatsApp. And as I told you, please feel free to contact through the live chat that you have at the session, and we will be pleased to answer all your questions. Okay, so I will now come back to the panel with the rest of the speakers, and I will introduce you the rest of the speakers. First, I would like to introduce you Deborah van der Meij from Babylon Storen. How are you, Deborah?
I'm very well, thank you.
Welcome
Thank you for
again.
the opportunity to attend today.
We are very pleased. Thank you for joining. So Deborah is passionate about good quality and authentic food, and that is produced responsibly. So food science is her calling, not just a profession, and she is skilled in product development, sensory evaluation, lecturing, and regulatory requirements. Deborah has a strong research background with a PhD focused on food science, specifically in biochemistry, from the Stellenbosch University. Now she's with Babylon Storen, working there as a research and quality assurance, and she will introduce more on the company and the products. When you're ready, Deborah.
Thank you, David. I decided to use a video for my introduction to give you a good overview of the brand, because we're not your traditional food production area. We were based on a farm, and the juicery that I established, or that I helped to establish in 2018, fits in with the brand. So first I'll use this video. So I'm going to play you a video to start.
As a visitor to the Cape, obviously the first thing you notice is this amazing scenery, but also the lushness of growth. And amongst these orchards and vineyards is a very special garden. This is Babylon's Toren. And I've been here a number of times, but every time I come, I am amazed at the scope and the ambition of the place.
Babylon's Toren was inspired by the 17th century gardens which fed and watered the Dutch travellers who came here. This small square of water at the heart of it celebrates that heritage with an Afrikaans poem. When the new owners arrived in 2007, they created a garden within a working farm. With over 30 different landscaped areas, a surprise awaits around every corner. From fruit trees to rose pavilions, and from prickly pears to chamomile lawns. But the garden is also educational. Ernst von Jasfeld has created an archive of endangered and indigenous plants.
How rare now are the cycads? How important is this collection?
It's very important. We don't want these things to come extinct because they are such relics of the past. They were in fact dominant and very common in the era of the dinosaurs.
So the key to this garden is that it celebrates everything that this land has to offer. From unusual plants to olive oil and pear brandy, and from honey to healing teas. A project of this size takes a great deal of tending, and work starts early. Everyone is on the move seeking out the first meal of the day. And I'm joining Constance Stearman in the vegetable garden to pick ingredients for the restaurant.
Do you eat the bean flowers?
That's beautiful, it's nice.
I've never eaten one of these flowers. And they are lovely. It does taste of beans, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
Gosh, I never would have thought that. It really, really tastes of runner bean. Thank you very much indeed.
And all of this is the secret to Babylon's Toren.
This is honouring a tradition that this landscape has been steeped in for centuries.
The food and the wine here is magnificent. But it's that combination of superb ingredients and a beautiful garden that makes Babylon's Toren unique.
Okay, so just to add on to that, that was to give you an overview of the brand and what we're about on the farm and what we do. So really it is about fresh and seasonal ingredients and giving that to our clients in a form that is very close to nature. So the juicery was a natural extension and addition to the farm. And we're very privileged to be able to use the HPP technology to preserve our juices. We started with our juicery in 2018 and launched our products at 330 mils. I decided to show you an example, which we launched in 2019. Originally, we started producing it for our farm to table restaurants, farm to fork restaurants. We've got 2 restaurants on the farm, and also selling it in our farm shop. And then we extended to selling it in our online shop and also available now with selected delis throughout the Western Cape. We've got a very strong seasonal theme that's part of the brand and has been traditionally part of the farm. So we offer a red, green, yellow juice throughout the seasons. It's also a signature colors on the farm, and we change the ingredients of our juices with seasons. So there's always something, a natural surprise as part of the juice when you visit our farm. And then we've recently added an elixir. Also on the farm, we have dairy production facilities. We do traditional production methods, and we're also working on ready-to-eat foods that we are continuously experimenting with HPP. And that's it.
Great. Thank you so much for the lovely video. I have to say, all our viewers, that I have the chance to be there twice, and this place is amazing. So every product not only tastes great, but also everything is beautiful there. So congrats.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will introduce now our next speaker. In this case, we have Samantha McIlroy from Interfood. How are you,
Hello.
Samantha?
I'm well, thanks, David. Yourself?
Welcome again. So Samantha has more than 20 years experience within the food industry, having completed a bachelor degree in animal science and Master of Science in food safety. Samantha started her career in quality assurance for an airline catering in the UK. Then she emigrated to South Africa and joined Interfood in 2007 as the factory quality assurance manager on the fresh juice side, and has since been active in all aspects of operations. So thank you so much for joining, Samantha. So when you are ready, please feel free to share us some information on your company and products.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so welcome to Interfood. Interfood are a world-class food business in South Africa, market leaders in premium convenience food and beverage products. We are the largest and most strategic supplier into Woolworths, South Africa, in a private food label. We also have globally recognized food safety and quality standards. The Interfood journey. So owners made initial investment into South Africa food manufacturing in 2005, acquiring Interfruit, a supplier of produce in Woolworths. In 2010, there was a combined move with Lombardi Foods and Interfruit to form what is Interfood today. Various acquisitions and organic growth has happened from 2011 until 2020. We are now have 10 manufacturing sites and 14 factories across South Africa. So our operations and customer, Interfood, as I said, has 10 manufacturing sites, 14 factories across the country. We supply our customer Woolworths in South Africa with over 1,200 units, combination of fresh and ambient convenient food products, and beverages. We also supply into retailers in the UK and have supply a range of frozen product into industry customers in the UK. So just in terms of where we make use of HPP technology, it's with our fresh juice operations in Western Cape in South Africa. So just a brief story. On the back of growing fresh produce business with Woolies, we commenced the juice production and supply around 30 years ago. So our first product supply was a freshly squeezed orange juice using a 3-cup FMC citrus extractor. And then in 1991, the first fresh apple juice was launched. It was actually first to market in those days. The Woolworths strategy then moved towards from concentrate. It was a consolidation of businesses within the white Woolworths supply base. And we acquired 2 more juice divisions. We then, in 2015, we built a bespoke facility for the Woolies retail at the airport in Cape Town. This is where we had the development of the press and cold press categories, and that's been happening since 2015, and that's when we implemented the HPP technology in 2016. We've also got other juice at the airport site, and that's tea brewing we've been doing since 2017. And then we've just recently taken on some fermentation, but we've actually had quite a lot of investment into fresh fruit and veg processing, and we've got several belt presses on site, and we've just recently built and commissioned a first to South Africa dedicated cold press facility, where we are focusing on our cold pressed. Currently our products are 100ml shots. We've got various 250ml juice products, and we've also moved into smoothies. So it's about 30 different recipes we're making currently. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samantha. I have to say also that I have the chance to try most of the products, and they all taste lovely. So all you guys, when in South Africa, you can go to Woolworths and try all of these products. Okay, so I will now move to introduce our next speaker, which is Henrik Thandberg. How are you, Henrik?
David, well, thanks yourself.
Welcome again. So
Thanks.
Henrik is the co-founder and chief operational officer of HPP South Africa, has a passion for research and development as well as manufacturing. His main responsibility at HPP South Africa is to help new clients successfully transition to the technology of high pressure processing, as well as existing clients to develop new product lines with the help of HPP. His goal is to create a diverse basket of products at HPP South Africa. Okay, Henrik, so now can you introduce the company?
Thank you for the introduction, David.
My pleasure.
Can you see the slideshow?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. I want to start off by saying what and where is South Africa. South Africa is in the continent of Africa, and we're at the bottom in the southern hemisphere with a population of around 45 million people. Okay, so who is HPP South Africa? HPP South Africa is a third-party tolling center, if you're going to call it that, in South Africa, meaning that we do a lot of other companies' products through our machine and assist them with their needs for the technology. Okay, how did we get on one cycle? Probably HPP South Africa has been around for about plus minus 5 years. At the beginning of HPP, we wanted to launch our own products into the market and couldn't get a way of reaching the shelf life or food safety that we needed without going with heat or preservatives. We wanted an all-natural, clean method of achieving what we needed. And the more we did research on HPP technology, we saw that there was a gap in South Africa for setting up a tolling center so that other companies can benefit from the technology as well as us. So what we did is we got an investor for the company. We bought our first machine, and that was around the end of 2016 when we started. Okay, our first plant is in Joburg, South Africa. It's probably the business hub in South Africa. It's where most of the commercials are running. And we wanted to be central with our plants so that the companies that's going to utilize the technology doesn't have to spend too much money on logistics or going back and forth from the plant towards the distribution centers and those type of things. So we are close to the airport in Johannesburg, as well as close to the distribution centers of the major retailers. Our cold room facility is around, to say, it's about 2,500 square meters, which consists of a storage unit, our processing unit, and then also a boxing and palletizing unit. At the moment, our current machines, we have a medium-sized machine and a large size machine in Johannesburg, as well as a large size machine in Cape Town. And back on the machines, our total production volume is probably around, I would say, about 4,000 tons a month that we can process. Our cooling facility, our whole facility is below 5 degrees Celsius, and what's quite important for Hpp technology to be sustainable and to work with your product needs is the cooling aspect. And not only the cold rooms where the machines or the products been stored, but as well as the cooling down of the water to make sure that your product can be the best quality it can be. Okay, the route to market for us as a tolling center is beginning with the customer awareness or the consumer awareness. As South Africa is a third world country, it's a quite unique and new technology in South Africa, as it's only been around for roughly, I can say, about 8 to 7 years. So it's still new. The customer is not aware of the technology, and it's sometimes difficult for them to understand how a fresh product can last for the shelf life that it's lasting at the moment. For example, a cold pressed juice lasting 45 days, or Ava guacamole lasting for 45 to 60 days. So it's quite difficult for them to understand that. So part of Hpp South Africa's not responsibility, but what we wanted to help with is to create awareness around the technology. Okay, the second part in that route to market is to educate the manufacturer as well. So even today, if we go out on meetings to see new customers for Hpp, they haven't heard about the technology, even though it's been around for 8+ years and internationally it's been around for 20+ years. It's still new for them as well. So to show them that there's a different way of getting shelf life or getting food safety other than preserving a product with chemicals or salt or sugar or heat treatment, that there's other alternatives to keeping a fresh product last longer without affecting the taste and texture of the product. After that, it's the retailers. So for the retailers, at the end of the day, it's a product that they sell to their clients, and they want to make sure that the product that they sell is the best quality as well as food safe for consuming the product. So what we did as Hpp Tolling Center, we had meetings basically with all the larger retailers to educate them on the technology and showing what is available in the different segments. For example, the processed meat industry, which is quite large in South Africa. And then the last part is the legislative restrictions in South Africa, and I think there's a lot of countries in the world that's got the same restrictions. For example, the raw milk. I think raw milk is a big category that's untapped at the moment because of the restrictions on selling unpasteurized raw milk, because there's actually states that it needs to be heat pasteurized. So it's still a way around to convince them on to do the process and do the work to make sure that, or not make sure, but to convince them that Hpp is a safe way of pasteurizing raw milk for the consumption for the clients. Our challenges as a Hpp tolling center is the education of the technology. So it's quite difficult to reach everyone and to make sure who are you reaching. So to have a marketing budget and to set aside and say, okay, who are we going to target, what age group, all that. So it's difficult for us. And I think the best route for us, what we decided was to convince the housewife who's actually doing the shopping for the household. The second big challenge in South Africa is probably promotion of food safety. I'm living in South Africa, and as David also mentioned in his presentation, that there was a big listeriosis outbreak in 2018. And I must say, before then, food safety was a nice word in South Africa, that the people weren't willing to put money behind it because they believed that they followed all the right, the accreditations and so forth, and the Hpp and the GMPs. So to convince them that there's a price that you can put around food safety to make sure that there's no way that anyone can get sick from eating a processed meat or a ready-to-eat meal or something like that was quite a challenge for us. And then as a Hpp tolling center, a large part of our volume is for third-party manufacturers, and for them to add cost on an existing product is quite difficult, as for us, it's a sense business in some of these cases where a product like a processed meat, a Vienna or a polony, is almost like a commodity in South Africa. So to add the cost of Hpp onto a product like that is extremely difficult. So after the listeriosis outbreak of 2018, the retailers weren't really willing to accept any type of Vienna or polony processed meat, basically, without adding Hpp to make sure that the food safety can be guaranteed and not taking any chances on the life of their customers. The last part of our marketing challenges is the capital recovery of your Hpp machine. So it's quite expensive technology to put it down. It ranges anything from $500,000 up until $3.5 million. So even for a medium to big size company, it's a big capital investment towards technology that some of them they can't spend that amount of money on a machine. They can rather spend the amount of money on marketing or market acquisition in that sort. So for us being here and available for them, it makes their lives a lot easier. The current status of Hpp South Africa. The monthly volumes, as I mentioned earlier, we have a capacity of around 4,500 tons a month that we can produce. At the moment, we're probably around 60 to 70% on capacity, depending on the time of year, as we do avocado pulp for some of the clients as well. The Hpp segments. I must be happy to mention that we're definitely growing the Hpp segments. We're not just avo, juices, processed meats and that. We also in the cheese market, we're in the soups market. We started with baby food. We're doing raw ingredients for final products, and we're also starting with plant-based meals and plant-based milk, like nut milks and that forth as well. The opportunities in neighboring countries for us, as South Africa is probably your hub in Africa. So if you want to pilot any type of business or product idea or new technology, South Africa is probably going to be your entry point into the African continent. So I must say, from South Africa, some of the products that we Hpp at our Gauteng facility is currently being distributed in our neighboring countries as Namibia, Botswana, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe. Our team, since the start of Hpp, we grew probably from around, I would say, 10 people to roughly 300 people at the moment. we are running 24/7 and we're running 4 teams. So there's no time that the machines aren't running. We need a shift on the floor every hour, every minute of the day from Monday to Sunday. So we do have quite a big team. We also assist some of the customers with boxing and palletizing. So it's not only running the machines, it's also assisting them with their own product packaging to make it ready for your distribution centers. The constraints in our market, I would say the biggest constraint probably is the cost of HPP, adding the cost onto your product. If it's a existing product, otherwise, if it's a new development or new type of product, it's not easier, but it's definitely doable to incorporate the price of HPP into the product, and then putting your margins on and selling it to the retailers or online or social media platforms and those forth. At the moment, I briefly touch on that. Our market that we adopted is the processed meats. Sliced meats is probably our biggest segment at the moment as a HPP tolling center. Our second category is definitely the juices. Third must be the avocado and the avocado products like your pulp and your guacamole. But we also do have ready-to-eat meals. We do have soups. We do have baby food. We have plant-based meals. We have nut milks going through. So we're definitely trying to tap into all of the HPP markets that is out there. At the moment, alternatives towards HPP is, I would say, in the processed meat industry is your triple P or your post-pack pasteurization. That is probably your next alternative after HPP. So there is companies out there that's utilizing other methods except HPP. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have a balanced basket of products, and that's mainly what I am responsible for. So I do help our existing clients with their current lines that they want HPP, as well as informing them of new ideas, seeing market trends overseas in the US and in Europe, informing them how to get on board and all of that. Innovation, as I mentioned, that's some of the clients, they've got a short shelf life product like cold pressed juice or nut milks. So part of our responsibility as a HPP tolling center is to assist them to get their products on board HPP, to help them with the packaging, to help them with the formulation and all of that. And not only if it's a current product, but if it's a new product, to make sure that everything ticks the boxes that needs to be ticked for the process. Our next focus, I would say, is probably plant-based. I think there's a massive gap and there's massive opportunity inside the world and inside South Africa for plant-based protein, as well as plant-based milks. And then obviously for us, we opened our Cape Town facility probably a year ago, just before COVID. So the plant is still fairly new, but it's definitely getting there with production volumes. Okay, the future in Africa. I think for HPP as a technology to grow in Africa, it's probably going to go hand in hand with your cold chain. Even though you explain the technology to a lot of people, it's still difficult for them to grasp that it needs to be in the cold chain. It's still a fresh product. It still has a shelf life. You can't put it on an ambient shelf or at room temperature. So even sometimes when they think, okay, it's in a cold truck, it's been in a cold room, I'm going to keep it for a while inside my holding area before I put it in the fridges on the shelf. So it's just basic education on your cold chain management and the growth of HPP and understanding of the technology that's going to assist in growing the market going forward. The need for clean label foods and healthy foods in South Africa is definitely in the uprising, as there's a couple of new regulations on salt content and sodium and nitrates in your processed meat, your chicken, all of that. So with that new regulations and legislations coming in, they're going to have problems with their shelf life. So the only way of not only, but the best way for them probably is to look at HPP as an alternative for shelf life and for food safety and for a cleaner label product as well. At the end of the day, for the manufacturers, it's better for them as to clean up their labels as well, to make sure that the clients who buys their products is healthy at the end of the day. They enjoy it more and all of that. Setting a new trend in Africa or South Africa in a whole is definitely something that's going to help in terms of distribution, frozen distribution versus your fresh distribution. For example, is your franchises, your fast food chains, all of that, your restaurants, that they can see the benefit of buying fresh produce instead of frozen produce or meat, for example, and your cut and sliced fruit and veg and so forth as well, even avocado, guacamole, avo slices, avo halves and those type of thing. It's way more convenient for a chef or for someone who operates in that environment to work with a chilled product rather than a frozen product. And then as I also mentioned earlier in my presentation, is that South Africa is definitely your hub to go into the rest of Africa. I think there's definitely scope towards that, but also a lot of the other African countries, they do keep an eye on what South Africa does, and they see that as a trend. So if there's a big adoption towards HPP in South Africa, I'm sure that some of the other African countries will definitely follow in their footsteps. Yes, okay, and that's basically from my side. That's what I wanted to show you, and thank you for the time, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Henrik. That was great. You give a good view on the HPP business, not only product development or different products, but also the operation and the cost and logistics and everything. So thank you.
No problem. Thanks for the time.
Yeah. And now let's put the roll bowling for the discussion panel. I will bring to the main screen the other speakers. Welcome back, Deborah and Samantha. And I will start asking you guys a few questions so that you can give us your thoughts on that. And for the others, feel free to share your thoughts whenever you find it convenient, okay? So I will start with Deborah. The first question is pretty obvious, and it is how did you discover or learn about the HPP technology, and why did you decide to implement it in your facility?
David, I was fortunate enough when I started working at Babylon Store, and we had a project engineer working on the design of our juicery, and they did a lot of research on juicing and the type of juice that we want to produce, and they selected to work with hyperbaric, and they already ordered our HPP machine. And I also, through my studies, I had exposure to HPP technology, but then I got to work with it firsthand, and I came to Burgos to sign off on our machine, and so it was really an amazing firsthand introduction to the technology. And then also travels in Europe, I had the opportunity to taste some HPP juices, and then also when Interfood started selling their HPP juices in Woolworths to have the opportunity to get exposure to the amazing products that you can produce with HPP.
Yeah, and if you have to select one particular benefit of HPP to your product, what would you say?
Just one. It's going to be hard. To be able to sell a fresh product with that's normally 4 or 5 days shelf life, to be able to extend that in terms of sustainability, nutritional value, it's amazing.
Great. Thank you. And what did you say, Samantha?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the main things that sort of got us into looking into HPP technology was our customer, and secondly through our own sort of like traveling and global trends, and also just the trends towards a healthier lifestyle. And that's when we decided to investigate the sort of non-thermal processing, because I mean, you know, most juice is pasteurized, so that's a heat treated, where you're kind of cooking the product. So we looked at several sort of different processes, and HPP was actually, the results came out on top. So we're really pleased. But it was definitely, I think, just the healthier lifestyle is definitely driving the non-thermal product. Being able to provide a food safe, sort of high nutrient, high quality, delicious tasting product.
Yeah. This is funny that being HPP a preservation technology or a shelf-life extension technology, it's so linked to the healthy lifestyle, to the plant-based food trend, to this juicing and cleansing trend. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And what do you say, Henrik?
No, that's definitely what Deborah and what Samantha said is completely true. As we also mentioned, that when we started off, the products that we wanted to create in South Africa, there were no other way of preserving or getting shelf life other than HPP. Because if you make a product like a nut milk or a cold brew coffee, anything like that, you can't really make a cold brew coffee and then afterwards heat treat it. So it's defeat the purpose of making a cold brew coffee. So the only option was really HPP technology, and the technology that extends shelf life, guarantees food safety, and all the nutrients are still intact. I mean, there's no other option really than to go with that.
And when this listeria outbreak happened in South Africa, you were already operating there. And did it really, as you said, did it really multiply your business, specifically for the meat segment?
No, quite a lot, David. It gave us a massive boost, but fortunately at that stage we already operational. We had the medium-sized machine, and we already made plans to buy the bigger machine. So when the listeriosis outbreak happened, we were flooded, literally flooded with processed meats. I mean, it was the only way of getting the product in the shelves that retailers weren't willing to accept anything other than HPP. So it really did give us that boost that we, not say what we needed, but that we got in South Africa to form a hold here in South Africa.
Sure. And okay, the next question will focus on product development. And so in your opinion, what are the main challenges and the main steps to create a successful product? So it's not only from product formulation, but also packaging is having a very big impact, or the country regulation, as most of you already said. So let's follow the same order. So Deborah, you go first.
For me, I don't have so much experience in product development with HPP, but I find it's very important to always check the impact on the flavor, because I do find with certain fruits it changes flavor, and we are always trying new fruits or new produce that we've got on the farm, and every time I'm surprised as to how the flavor changes after HPP. And also the texture, it's very important to check, because HPP has got interesting impact on certain textures. It can be better or it can be a lot worse. So that's been very important for me to always make sure that I trial that. But also, and to use it as an improver, and with certain flavors, I find that it improves the flavor and texture, actually.
So,
yeah, I think it's really important is using familiar flavors, and looking at sort of ingredients that would be perceived health benefits or functionality. But I think it really just needs to scream fresh and have most HPP products keep the vibrant colors. But although, as Deborah said, some don't work so well as others, but generally, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's got to taste great, and I think that's the main thing.
We have already discussed on food safety and shelf life, but you girls are now giving a very, very important topics as well, which is the color preservation that HPP can bring to the product, which is the texture that the HPP can have an impact. So we can develop new products with different textures. We can develop new products with a different flavor. So HPP is a very powerful tool for product development as well. And finally, Henrik, we don't have your 2 cents on this.
David, for us, it's quite a different outlook on the the whole product development, or what is necessary to create a successful product is, I would say for me, it's the packaging. It starts with the packaging. If you can't get that right, at the end of the day, it's very difficult for the client to get on board the technology, for the product to work. There's just some packaging that can't work. I mean, you can't put glass through Hpp, you can't put tin through Hpp, you can't have too much headspace, for example. So that makes it quite different for us to help certain clients. But if you can get the packaging right, at the end of the day, from there, I would say it's the formulation, get the pH right, make sure that whatever we're going to put in Hpp is going to work and it's going to retain the color. So I would say packaging, formulation, and then the type of product, for sure.
Yeah, it is indeed a very important topic when developing a successful HPP product. Not only because of the fact that we are processing with HPP, but also if we are making a product that is lasting 4 months or 3 months, the packaging itself has to be good enough as to avoid oxidations, as to have a very good barrier for oxygen and for other gases that may affect the flavor of the product. So it's a very important thing.
And in one category, for example, if you look at RTE meals, as you mentioned, it's quite important how it displays on the shelf. For me, working with the clients, working with the tolling center, I would love to put everything in a pouch. It's just so easy to work with a pouch and a vacuum pouch, but unfortunately, that's not what everyone's going to accept on the shelf. So with a shelf life of, let's say, 60 to 90 days or even 120 days on a ready-to-eat meal, it's quite important how it's going to display on the shelf. So to get that right, to make sure it doesn't sag off after a while, it's very important, the display. And at the end of the day, a lot of the customers, they buy with their eyes. So how it displays on the shelf, how it looks, it's going to help with the success of your product.
Yeah. So for the juice sector, it's something similar. The transparent packaging is probably not the best in order to assure the quality during the whole shelf life, but you need to have a very appealing product, and the consumer want to see this bright green, this bright red, this bright yellow. So it's about finding a balance also to sell the products and to keep it during so long in the supermarket. Okay, I see you both agree.
Yes.
Regarding,
I think it's also a part of the customer awareness of what is the technology and when is a product seen as fresh. I think with the juices, if I can just add my 2 cents, is the separation is often seen as not a problem, but some people don't understand the separation as your pasteurized juices it's a perfect blend, or it's homogenized at the end of the day. So a fresh juice does separate. There is definitely sets in the juices. So it's just something that the client needs to be aware of, what is fresh and what's been pasteurized.
I think for...
No, just to... No, it's fine. You go.
Okay. It is a tricky one. Is what does the consumer understand about sort of HPP? I mean, we've been supplying the HPP product into Woolies for 6 years, 5-6 years now, and it seems to be the consumer has now gets used to the separation. I mean, it's quite significant sometimes, but it's also it's quite difficult to get the message across as well within the country. You can't really say a lot about it's fresh, healthy, and all the rest of it. So that just goes back to the sort of quite strict regulations that we have here. I'll probably jumping the gun a bit now, but I think the consumer just gets used to the separation. It's very acceptable in Woolies. So
yeah, I think if there is one category, go ahead, Deborah.
Just to add to that, yes, I also had to educate our consumers and our buyers a lot, because they and now I've got them at a stage where I say, you want the juice to separate. If it's not separating, you don't want to buy it because it means it's not fresh. So I think there's still some education that needs to be done, because our consumers also think that cold pressed juice that's pasteurized, they can claim cold pressed. and they can claim that it's cold pressed, but it's pasteurized and it's heat treated. So consumers aren't really educated around juice in South Africa yet, or not enough.
Yeah, I think it's going to the words cold pressed is what does cold pressed mean? I mean, like you say, cold pressed pasteurized. It's cold pressed is like end to end, from extracting the juice to the process and the finished product.
Yeah, totally agree. In some markets, like in the US, cold press and HPP are terms that the consumers usually confuse, because for them it's the same. All cold press juice must be HPP, and all HPP juice must be cold press. So there is no other way. Okay, so let's move now to product positioning. You, Deborah, and Heinrich also, you address a little bit on this topic, but do you find it difficult to position your products compared to others in the same category in the supermarkets, or how do you find it difficult to consumer on the benefits of these specific products compared to others in the same category? What do you say?
Heinrich, do you want to answer first?
Yeah, sure. David, I don't think so. I think the shelf life speaks for itself in some areas. I mean, you just can't compare the two. Even the processed meat, if you look at non-HPP products, they only last for about 30 to 35, 38 days, and where your HPP products will probably last for 90 to 120 days. So for us as a tolling center to get that advantage over to the manufacturer is quite easy for them to understand, okay, if they utilize the technology of HPP on their product, there's definitely going to be a selling benefit for them as well. We even had some companies that said, listen, my Viennas aren't selling because I don't have the shelf life as the other Viennas. So at the end of the day, it's really bringing together a segment in South Africa where if you're not using HPP on your product, you're going to lose out. So, yeah.
But for instance, the beverage category, it's where you have many options. So I'm pretty sure that that Into Food or Babylon Storage, you find it more difficult in order to position in your product or not, or tell us your story.
David, we find that HPP is not necessarily the competitive edge. It adds to the quality of the product that we're able to offer, which helps in selling. But the consumers don't necessarily understand the benefits of HPP and what it adds to the product. So it would help, I think in future, it will get easier as consumers are more aware of cold pasteurization and the value that it adds to the product. That's what I find with the juice specifically.
Sure.
No, I agree there. I think, again, it's like probably what I sort of jumped the gun and answered in the previous round of question is it's about getting the message across to the consumer, because you could also confuse the consumer by giving your product in terms of fresh juice too much shelf life, because then there's the question on, well, is this fresh anymore? So it's a tricky one. I think it's really about educating the consumer. And it'd be great if we could put some more information on the label. But again, as I said, it's quite tricky. It's quite strict.
Yeah.
To make those shout outs to the consumer.
Consumer education is key here. Sure. So regarding consumers and consumer trends, the next question would be, how do you see the current consumer trends affecting your product? So are you growing volumes on those that are clean label, plant-based, with sugar reduction, or sustainable? All these claims that are affecting the products globally are also affecting the domestic market in South Africa?
David, if you don't mind, I can give maybe more broader answer to that as we work with a couple of different categories in HPP.
Sure.
And one that has definitely come to mind, I also mentioned in my presentation, was moving from a frozen section towards a fresh section or to the refrigerated space. We definitely see a spike in baby food, in some of the soup lines, even in some of the juices. Some people are used to selling juices frozen. The ready-to-eat meals, for example, is moving from the frozen section to the fresh section. So it's definitely helping us in building new categories inside HPP. And because it's definitely something that the customer wants at the moment, South Africa is convenience. And there's a lot of small pop-up shops that the people are, even in a time like COVID, they don't really want to go into a mall, into a big shopping center where they're exposed to a lot of people, into a big area. So they would like to go into a small convenience store, if I can say it like that. And you get everything fresh and not frozen, really helps them a lot.
Any other opinion?
I think it's just in terms of consumer trends, it's definitely the requirement for the clean labeling, less processed products with more functional ingredients, and again, it's just a focus on the health and wellness aspect. I know with the COVID last year, we actually see ourselves in the juices with the high vitamin C go through the roof, so it was really great. And we did actually sort of launch quite a number of different recipes in the sort of vitamin C range, if you like. So that was just definitely a consumer trend last year. It still is, actually. So.
Yeah, it happened worldwide, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who wants to buy their immune boosters because of COVID. We can see a lot of in our juice section. You can see where it used to be probably about 80-90% of the juices were in the bigger servings, like a 300 ml a liter, and then the 10% would probably be around in the shots, like the 50-100 mils. It's really it went from that to about 60-40, where the immune boosters or the small shots, the immunity boosters, all that is almost towards half of our juice basket.
Yeah, we also saw a significant increase in vitamin C, and we launched our elixirs last year, so we saw it's been very popular. But the HPP enables us to just build on all the trends: clean label, sustainability, high nutrient dense, healthy foods. So it really is amazing to be working with HPP right now, because it fits in with all the trends and actually the needs of people right now.
Yeah. It's actually to find another technology that is so perfectly aligned with all these trends that we have been discussing.
No, it's not possible.
So we are unfortunately running out of time. So I will go to the final question. And now that we are talking about the products in the market, how do you see the market going, and so on, I would ask you, and some of you already mentioned a few products, but what products do you think that will be the future in your market, or for export markets, or so on, but made in South Africa?
David, for us, if I can jump the gun again, sorry, girls, is plant-based for sure. Is plant-based protein. I think it's going to be a big market. It's going to be a big category for us in South Africa as a source of cheaper protein, but still everyone is entitled to food safe, nutritional food. So even though if it's going to a lower income household, it's not to say that it doesn't need to be food safe. So definitely for us, we are planning and gearing ourselves towards plant-based protein.
And are you developing there these meat analogs, as they are doing in Europe, in other many markets, which is from pea protein, vegetable protein, or legumes protein, or cereal, combining all together to make a product that is similar to meat? Or in the house of Biltong, you don't have still this trend coming?
Yes, no, of course. But our biggest contributor to that is probably going to be your soya protein, your soya bean protein.
Yeah. And what do you say, girls, on the new products coming to the market? What do you see will be the future of HPP?
Oh, the world's your oyster. No, it's probably also, like Henrik said, is towards a sort of the non-dairy, sort of vegan, sort of products, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, just plant-based. Definitely, that's a massive trend right now, but also it ties in with sustainability and with healthy lifestyle. So, and HPP enables you to do amazing products and with great flavor, and that are food safe. So, yeah, I do see in South Africa, it's really a growing market at the moment.
Yeah, sustainability and ecology, it's a plus for every product, and also brand transparency. So be able to communicate your consumer why your products are more sustainable than others, or what kind of new policies for improved sustainability are you improving in your company. The consumers now are willing to pay more for products that are better developed with less resources, with less impact on the environment. So yeah, I totally agree with you guys. And I think we addressed and we cover more or less the main topics on the food market and HPP market. Is there any last comment that any of you would like to say?
David, I think you mentioned it, saying that there's no other technology than HPP. It really, the benefits outweighs the cost and the capital investments, all of that. So for us as HPP, we deeply rooted into the technology, and we're definitely going a long way with it.
Sure. Thank you all. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, so we cannot answer any questions from the chat. But we have been replying directly in the chat, or if we don't have time to reply any of them, we will send you the answer by email. So thank you all, guys. Deborah, Heinrich, and Samantha, as I see you in this order in the screen. Has been a real pleasure discussing about you on the HPP market in Africa, and specifically in South Africa. I hope we see each other soon. And once again, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks, David.
Our pleasure. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.